let's take a look at the reference. Alright, so for this handle, you could model it exactly like this. I'm not really a fan of the way this bracket piece here at the bottom looks. So I think I might deviate from the reference for this and just make up some sort of a plate piece or something that we can just pull the handle out of. Okay, so again, that'll be up to you depending on how you want your model to look, but I'm going to change it up. Okay, so let's go into the top view again. Alright, I'm just going to turn my grids back on with G, just so I can kind of see where the center of this is. And we'll go to the create panel and grab another box. Alright, and I'm just going to drag one out here. Alright, we'll figure out the size we need in a minute. Alright, just give it a little bit of height and try to center it on the line there. Okay, and let's go into perspective and actually move it up so we can see it. Alright, so I'm just going to move it up on top of the door, just so it's sitting on top. Alright, and it might need to come forward a bit, so let's move it on the Y. Okay, that might be okay. Let's go into the modify panel. Alright, so for the length, let's just do maybe 4. For the width, let's do maybe 9. Okay, and the height, again, this will depend on how you want yours to look. Let's just say maybe 0.7. That should be fine. I don't want it to be too high. Okay, and we'll leave the segments at 1 by 1 by 1. Alright, so that should be cool for our little plate piece to start with. Alright, so let's convert it to editable poly. Alright, I'm going to change the color. Okay, and let's maybe knock the corners off a bit. So I'm going to go to edge and just grab a corner. Okay, and we'll do a ring. And let's go to chamfer. Okay, so for this I'm just going to lower it down. Alright, I might just knock them off like that, so I'm going to do 0.15 or so, and we'll hit OK. And then let's just go to polygon, and I'm just going to go into wireframe with F3, and I'm just going to try to select the bottom polygon. Alright, and I'll just hit delete to get rid of it. Okay, and let's go back to edge. Alright, I'm just going to hit Control I to invert the edge selection again, and we'll just chamfer this ring down. Okay, so chamfer. Let's just lower the amount. I'm just going to hit cancel here for a sec. I think I got the bottom selected. Yeah, I do. Alright, so I'm just going to go into the front view. And I'm just going to hold Alt and just drag around the bottom and deselect those ones. Okay, just so we just have the top outer ring. Alright, so now let's chamfer. Alright. Alright, so I might just do something like this. Maybe 0.15 again, and okay. Alright, I think I'm going to go into isolation mode here with Alt Q, just to make it a little easier to see what we're doing. Alright, so it's looking kind of plain right now. I think we should probably try to give it a little more detail. So let's maybe select the edges through the center like that. Alright, so just those guys. And again, make sure you don't have backfacing turned on. And we'll just do a connect. Alright, and we'll do 2 segments. And I think I'm just going to kind of make a little raised piece in the center that the handle will come out of. Okay, so let's pinch these apart a little bit more. Alright, maybe 25 or so on the pinch, no slide, and okay. And then we'll do the same thing this way. Alright, so select these guys, connect. Alright, I might just leave this at 25 as well, and okay. Alright, so let's go to polygon and just grab that center one. And I think for this I might just open up bevel. Alright, and we'll just lower the height way down. And up the outline amount, just to untwist the polys. Alright, so that might be fine. I'll just say 0.5 on the height and negative 0.2 on the outline amount, and okay. Alright, so let's go back to edge, and I think we'll just select all these guys on the top here. Alright, I'm just going to hold control and just select the ones around the base as well. Okay, So all 12, and we'll just chamfer these guys down a little bit, just to soften out the edges. Okay, maybe 0.05 or so, and okay. And I'm just going to exit edge, and then we'll also exit isolation mode. Okay, so it's definitely no masterpiece. You could take a lot more time and maybe actually detail something out, but I think just for the sake of speed, I'm just going to do something simple and leave it kind of like this. Alright, so let's name it. Just going to call it hatch base or something, so I know what it is. And we'll center the pivot. So hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object, and click to turn it off. Alright, so let's take one more look here. Alright, so it looks like the shaft of the handle is cylindrical. So I think I'll probably do mine like that as well. The actual handle piece up here, it's kind of hard to tell if it's another cylinder or if that's kind of a box shape. Alright, so I think we'll just kind of wing it and just, do what looks okay. Alright, so let's minimize that and go back to the top view. I'm just going to zoom in here on the plate and just move it over. Alright, so it's centered on the origin line. And let's go grab a cylinder on the create panel and just drag one out in the center of this middle piece. Alright, we'll just give it a little bit of height, and let's move it up again so we can see what we're doing. Alright, so up on the Y. Alright, again, you can always press Z to zoom in on your selected piece. Alright, so let's move it up so it's kind of sitting on top of this block piece. Alright, maybe something like that, and let's go into the modify panel and just dump the height segments again by right clicking the spinner. Okay, we won't need any. The sides, I think I'm going to leave them at 18, that should be enough. Alright, so let's convert it to editable poly. And I'm just going to go to polygon, and we can go into wireframe again, F3, and just try to select that bottom polygon there. Okay, and delete. And turn our smooth faces on again with F3. Alright, so I'm just going to grab the top polygon and just move it down a bit. And I think I might just try to give it a bit of a bevel, and then we'll extrude it up to where the handle is. Okay, so let's do a bevel. Open that up, and we'll lower it down again. And up the outline amount to untwist it. Alright. Alright, so I might do 0.13 on the height and negative 0.07 on the outline amount, and okay. And again, you don't have to match, mine exactly. Alright, so let's extrude this polygon now. Alright, now we'll just lower this down. Alright, I'm not sure how high we'll want it to be. Alright, so I'm going to say maybe 1.2 on the amount, and okay. Alright, and I think we'll just have this go right into the bottom of the handle piece when we make it, so we don't really need this polygon here, so let's delete that guy by hitting delete. Alright, and before we finish this one up, we should probably soften up some of these edges here. Alright, so let's grab both of them, holding control, and do a loop, and then open up chamfer, and we'll just lower the amount down. Alright, just to round the corners over a bit. Alright, maybe 0.02 or so on the amount, and okay. And we can exit edge. Alright, I'm just also going to change my color again. Alright. Okay, so pretty simple. Again, feel free to take more time when you're doing this, and you can probably get a nicer result. Alright, so we might have to put the smooth modifier on this guy. Let's check it out. So F4, turn off our edges, and yeah, it's looking a little rough right now. Okay, so let's put on the smooth modifier one more time. Alright, smooth and auto smooth. Okay, so that should be fine. Let's name it. I'm just going to call it handle shaft. Okay, and we'll center the pivot point. Hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object, and then just turn effect pivot only off. Alright, so pretty simple, but it should be fine for this, I think. So let's start actually building the handle piece. So I'm going to go into the top view again for this, and I think I'll just start with a box. So let's grab one, and I'm just going to kind of drag one out here. Alright, and just try to center it. Right, I'm not sure of the size we'll need, so let's move it up into place so we can judge better. Okay, so I'm just going to move it up so it's sitting on top of our shaft piece. Okay. And I think we can probably do most of the sizing manually, so let's just convert it to editable poly right now. Alright, I'm just going to turn my edges back on, F4. Alright, and just change the color quickly. Oh, don't do that. Alright, so let's go to vertex, and I'm just going to select all four on this end. Okay, and we'll go into the top view, and I think we'll just scale this on the Y down a bit, just to give the handle a bit of a taper. Alright, maybe like that. And we can probably do the same in the front view, so down a little bit on the Y. Alright, it doesn't have to be a lot. Alright, and I think the end here is looking a little too wide, so let's grab these guys and just scale in the top view again on the Y. Alright, just to make it a little thinner. Okay. Alright, still looking a little too big. Alright, so let's go to vertex again, and I'm just going to go to move and just move these guys in a bit to shorten it up. Alright, so maybe like that. Okay, so we can exit vert, and I think we should round over the corners a bit, so let's go to edge and just grab a corner and do another ring. Alright, and we'll open up chamfer and just lower the amount down. Alright, maybe 0.4 or so, and okay. Alright, just thinking here, we might want to actually do a double chamfer on these guys. So let's open up chamfer again, and just lower the amount down a bit farther. Okay, so we'll say maybe 0.05 or so, and okay. Alright, and let's hit Control I, and we'll just chamfer these guys. Alright, chamfer, and we'll just go up a bit here to round over the top. Alright, so maybe 0.15 should be good, I think. And okay. Then we can exit edge. Alright, so a pretty simple handle. Let's name it. I'm just going to call it handle. And we'll center the pivot on this too. Alright, hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object. Turn this off. Alright, so let's zoom out and see how it looks. Alright, so yeah, I think that'll be fine. And again, take more time if you feel it needs it. Alright, so let's save now that we have that done. Okay. So I think we just have to add the chain piece up across the top. Let's take a look at the reference here. Alright. Okay, so if you look on here, it looks to me like there's like a ring piece that goes around each of the posts, and then the chain hooks onto those. Okay, so I think we'll start with these ring pieces before we actually build the chain. Alright, so let's go into the top view for this. Alright, I'm just going to turn the grids off again by hitting G, and just zoom in on this left front corner post. Okay, and I think we can probably start with a torus to make this ring, so let's go over and grab one on the create panel, and I'm just going to drag one out here. Okay, and then let's tweak the size. So for radius 1, let's just take it up. Alright, I'm going to go a bit bigger than the post. I just want to have a bit of space around it. Alright, and let's actually move this up in perspective so we can see how big it needs to be. Alright, so I'm just going to drag it up to the top there. Alright, just so we can judge the size a little better. Alright, so let's say maybe 1.4 for radius 1. Alright, and for radius 2, let's just do 0.2. Okay, I think that should be fine. Alright, I'm going to leave the segments at 24 and the sides at 12. Alright, and let's right click and convert it to editable poly. Okay, and let's just go into the top view again. Alright, so I'm just going to go to vertex and just select all the ones on this side, all the ones on the right side. Okay, and we'll just drag it over on the X, alright, just to stretch the piece out a bit. Alright, I'm not sure how much we'll need to go. That might be okay right there. Alright, you can see it almost has like a taper here. It's not even, and I actually think I might leave it like that. Okay, so we won't bother straightening it out. Alright, so just like that. Okay, pretty simple. Let's exit vertex, and I'm just going to center the pivot on it. So hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object, and turn it off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is just move it down, and I think we're going to want to rotate it too. So let's go into the left view. Oops, sorry, the front view, and zoom in here. Okay, so I'm just going to go to rotate, and I still have my angle snaps turned on, and I'm just going to rotate it a little bit. Alright, say 25 degrees or so, and then we'll just move it down again. Alright, and we can probably see this easier in perspective. Alright, so I'm just going to move it down so it's just sitting on top of our bracket piece, and I also want to make sure it's up against the side of the post, okay? Just so it actually looks like it's being pulled by the weight of the chain. Alright, so just like that. Alright, so that should be okay for this piece. I think we might need to put the smooth modifier on it, just to be safe. Alright, so we'll do that. So in the modify list, just go down until you find smooth, and we'll put this on, and then we'll just do auto smoothing one more time. Alright, and let's also change the color before we move on. Okay. Alright, let's name it too. Just going to call it maybe chain ring. Okay. Now we can actually start making the chain links. So let's go into the top view for that, and I think we'll use a torus again. So back to the gray panel and just down to torus. Okay, and I'm just going to drag one out here, and we'll go a bit smaller than we did the first time. I'm not sure how big it'll need to be. Alright, so we'll just get one in there, and then let's move it up again so we can see it. Alright, so I'm just going to drag it up in the left view all the way to the top. Alright, just so it's next to our ring piece that we made. Alright, so that might be a little too fat. Let's take a look on the reference. Alright, so it has fairly small chain links, and they're fairly thick. Okay, so just going to go into the modify panel here, and just going to tweak this a little bit until I get it so it looks close to right. Alright, so let's just say 0.8 for radius 1, and let's do 0.2 for radius 2. Okay? And again, I'm just going to leave the segments at 24 and the sides at 12. Alright, I think that should be fine to start. Alright, so let's go back to the top. Okay, and we'll right click and convert this to a poly. Alright, and this time I'm going to go to a polygon, and just make sure you don't have ignore back facing on. And I'm just going to select one half of it, the right half, and delete it. So delete. And then I'm going to go to border, and we'll just select both the borders, holding control. Okay, and I'm going to hold down shift and just drag it on the X. Alright, just to get a bit of a flat spot here. Alright, so just like that. And we can exit border. Alright, so let's throw a symmetry modifier on here. So in the modify list, it's going to go down to symmetry. Alright, we'll put one on. And we might have to move the mirror here. Let's just try these. Alright, so I'm going to open up the rollout for symmetry and just select mirror. Okay, and I'm just going to pull that over. Alright, I think we're going to have to flip it, so let's hit flip. Alright, so I'm doing the x-axis, and we'll flip it. Alright, and again, if that doesn't work for you, just try the different ones until you get this result. Alright, so I'm just going to move the mirror until it gets about the right size I want. Alright, and then we can turn that off, and just close this up. And let's take a look in perspective. Alright, so that should be fine, I think, for this. Okay, so let's change the color. Put our shader on, and I'm just going to right click and convert it back to editable poly. And we're probably going to need the smooth modifier here too. Let's see, so F4. Alright, you can see it looks kind of weird. Okay, so let's throw the smooth modifier on this guy as well. Alright, smooth, and auto smooth. Okay, that should be fine, I think, for the chain link. Alright, so let's go back to the top view, and I'm just going to center the pivot on it. So hierarchy tab again, effect pivot only, centered object, and then turn it off. Alright, the first thing I do here is just go to rotate, and I still have my snaps turned on, and I'm just going to rotate it so it's vertical. Okay, just 9 degrees, like that. I just want it to be sitting like this so it'll actually match up when we need it to hook onto the ring here. Okay, so say like that. And let's go to move, and what I'm going to do here is just hold shift and just drag a copy over here on the X. Alright, and we'll do copy and OK. Alright, and then let's also rotate it a little bit. Okay, just want to get them to look like they're actually interlocking. Alright, it's still kind of sticking through the side there. Alright, so just like that, and just want to make sure that you go, over this way enough that it looks tight together. Else it's not really going to probably look right if we leave it back like that. Okay, so let's move it in. Alright, so that should be fine for those, I think. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways you can make a chain in Max. You could use a spline and use path deform, or maybe the spacing tool, symmetry. There's a lot of ways to do it. I think we'll just do it the simplest way. Okay, so if we got these two guys here, let's select both of them. Alright, and I'm going to hold shift and just drag a copy of both of them over to the right, and we'll try to position it the same way we did on the first one, just like that, so they look tight together. And let go, and then we'll do a copy, and I don't know how many we're going to need to actually make the full distance across post to post, so let's just do a bunch. Alright, so we'll do maybe 15 copies and hit OK. Alright, that might be too many, I'm not sure. Alright, just so we have a pretty long chain here. Okay, and then let's select the first link, and I'm just going to go into the modify panel and drop into edit poly. Alright, and we'll just go down to attach. Okay, and open the box up here, and I'm just going to select anything that's called torus. Alright, so all 32 of them, and we'll say attach. Okay, so it's all attached together now in one piece. Alright, so let's center the pivot point on it. Hierarchy tab, effect pivot only, centered object, and then click it off. Alright, and let's also name it. I'm just going to call it chain. Alright, and obviously it's not sitting in the right spot, so let's move it. So right click on the move tool and just right click on the X axis. Okay, and we'll close this. Alright, so just so it's centered. Alright, so I think in this case we can probably maybe just bend the chain with the bend modifier. Alright, so let's try that. Let's go into the modifiers, modify list, and we'll go down to bend. Alright, chuck one of these on. Okay, and let's just up the angle a bit. Alright, just so we can figure out what axis we need. Alright, obviously that's not right, so let's try Y and X. Alright, so it looks like X is the one we need to do. And you can see here that it's bending in the wrong direction. Alright, so I think we'll need to flip the gizmo around. So let's open up the rollout for bend and select gizmo. Okay, and I'm going to go back to rotate, and I still have my snaps turned on here, and I'm just going to rotate it 90 degrees, just so it's bending in the right direction that we want. Okay, just like that, and then we'll exit gizmo and just close up the bend rollout. Alright, so just like that, and I'm not sure how much of an angle we'll need on it. I'm just going to move this down a bit, alright, just so we can judge it a little better. Okay, we might need to go up a little more. Okay, that's a little closer. Alright, so I think I might try 112 on the angle. Okay, and I'm just going to move it down a bit. Alright, just want it to be sitting on our loop piece that we made properly. Alright, so just move it down until it's just sitting in there. Alright, so that looks fine. Alright, and it's not always, the best idea to use a bend modifier to do something like this. In this case it's fine, but if you bend it too much, it's going to start warping the chain links. Alright, so you might notice it looks kind of weird. Alright, but I think in our case this is fine. Alright, so let's just take a look. Alright, that's looking decent. Alright, and we're going to need to copy our little ring piece over to that side, so let's do that next. Alright, so I'm just going to select that guy, and we'll do this in the front view. Okay, and I'm just going to go to mirror. Okay, and we'll do a mirror on the X, and we'll do a copy, and we'll hit OK. And then I'm going to right click on the move tool, and just take the negative out of the X-axis again, backspace, and hit enter. Alright, and we can close this up, and let's take a look. Let's see if everything's working okay. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Alright. So we'll say that's good for the chain. Let's save. Alrighty, so I think the model's now done. Alright, let's just take one last look at the reference picture, just to make sure we didn't forget anything. I don't think we did. Alright, looks like we got everything, so that's good. And as you can see, we didn't really get the chain, to match perfectly with the reference. Our links are probably a little too big, and we have more of a bend in ours than we do over here. But that's cool. It doesn't have to match exactly. We're just using this as a guide, so it didn't come out bad. It's pretty close to the reference, I think, and looking decent. Alright, so I'm just going to close this. We don't really need it anymore. Alright, so yeah, I think that'll about do it for the model. End of the tutorial. Hopefully you got a good result at the end of this, and I hope you enjoyed watching it and learned something from it. So yeah, I think that'll do it, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.